Have you ever watched a play where the entire cast consists solely of women? Yes, even roles like old men, burly guys, or traditionally masculine characters are all performed by female actors. Today, let's delve into the hidden corners behind the glitz and glamour of this unique art form. The Takarazuka Revue is a theater company established by Ichizo Kobayashi, an industrialist-turned-politician and the president of Hankyu Railways, based in Takarazuka, Japan. Initially, this endeavor aimed to attract more visitors to the hot spring resorts in Takarazuka, Hyogo, a famous tourist destination. Young women would perform musicals, dances, and songs to entertain tourists. During that era, Western music was immensely popular in Japan, which inspired Kobayashi to establish a theater showcasing both traditional Japanese stories and renowned Western musicals to appeal to a wider audience. Kobayashi modeled the Takarazuka Revue after kabuki, but sought to distinguish it by targeting a different audience, making it a truly unique experience. Over the past century, the theater has sustained its performances, primarily focusing on plays and musical productions. The troupe performs a wide range of genres, including Broadway musicals, traditional Japanese performing arts, and stage adaptations of films, historical biographies, and literary works. The Takarazuka Revue is divided into 5 smaller troupes named Flower, Moon, Snow, Star, and Cosmos, alongside a group of specialists called Senka, who excel in specific artistic disciplines. Unlike traditional kabuki theater, which features an all-male cast, the Takarazuka Revue exclusively comprises female performers. These actresses are referred to as Takarasians. In their performances, roles are categorized into male roles, played by otakoyaku, and female roles, played by musumiyaku. Interestingly, otakoyaku roles tend to be more sought after and come with stricter selection criteria. Fans of the Takarazuka Revue are some of the most loyal in the world, with an estimated 90% of the audience being women. To perform on the Takarazuka stage, aspiring actresses must enroll in the Takarazuka Music School, a highly competitive institution. Each year, around 1,000 candidates apply, but only 40 to 50 are accepted. Applicants must be between the ages of 15 and 18 and pass 3 rigorous selection rounds with outstanding scores. This is why most girls aspiring to become Takarasians start training in singing, dancing, and acting from a very young age. Once admitted to the program, students must adhere to the Academy's strict regulations, encapsulated in the school's motto: purity, integrity, and grace. The training is disciplined and hierarchical. Some of the rules revealed include first-year students riding the last car of the train on their way to school and being forbidden from talking. They must walk in pairs from the dormitory and refrain from speaking to classmates. Students are prohibited from wearing red or any bright colors, and they must clean all instruments and facilities until not a single fingerprint remains. These are just a fraction of the rigorous rules in place. So why do so many young Japanese women aspire to enroll in this demanding school? The allure lies in its societal prestige, the cultivation of patience, and the transformation into elegant, refined ladies. Above all, it offers the chance to become one of Japan's few top stars, treated like queens. Most leading Takarazuka actresses go on to become famous entertainers, enjoying long-lasting careers in the entertainment industry. Some of the most well-known names to emerge from Takarazuka Revue include Hitomi Kuroki, Yuki Amami, and Ray Dan. These actresses built remarkable careers through their involvement with Takarazuka, appearing on television daily, whether in commercials or long-running dramas. However, behind the glittering facade lies a dark chapter of tragedy. In the spring of 1958, the Takarazuka Revue held a performance at its theater in Takarazuka City. One of the actresses, Yuri Hinatsu, was originally scheduled to perform but caught a cold on March 31st. Her role was taken over by 21-year-old Hiromi Katsuki. The play was performed twice a day, and by the time Hiromi stepped on stage for the 4th performance on the evening of April 1st, she had already completed 3 previous shows. In the final scene of her act, Hiromi was supposed to embrace her co-performer Minako Matsushima. As per the staging, the platform beneath them would begin to lower gradually, causing them to disappear from the audience's view. Once the platform fully descended, the actresses would quickly rush to the wardrobe area to change costumes for the next scene. Minako, dressed in a leotard, could easily leap off the lowering platform to prepare for the next segment. But as she did, she heard a piercing scream followed by a loud cracking noise. Turning back, she saw a horrifying sight. Hiromi's skirt had become entangled in the lift's rotating mechanism. Hiromi's legs were caught between the massive steel gears. Her elaborate crinoline dress, with its wide, cumbersome design, made it impossible for her to free herself. The machine crushed her legs with horrifying precision, producing heart-wrenching screams that echoed throughout the stage. The lift continued its descent, mercilessly pulling her body downward. Despite her desperate struggles, her torso was eventually severed at the waist. Hiromi died instantly. It is beyond imagination how excruciating Hiromi's final moments must have been. According to her death certificate, her waist had been severed, her right leg crushed, her left leg fractured, but her upper body remained intact. This tragedy led the local Labor Standards Bureau and Labor Inspection Office to classify Hiromi's death as a workplace accident. The company was fined 50,000 yen, equivalent to approximately 800,000 yen today. Additionally, the Inspector General required the opera company to upgrade its stage equipment to ensure the performer's safety. The incident revealed significant safety flaws in a troupe revered as a national treasure. The tragedy also exposed a series of unsettling coincidences and oversights that had long been ignored. Firstly, the stage lift platform was narrow, measuring only 3 meters in length and 1.2 meters in width. Furthermore, the rotating mechanism was left exposed, without any protective covering to shield the machinery. The dresses worn by the actresses during the performance had a circumference of 3 meters, wider than the platform itself, causing parts of the fabric to hang over the edge, making them prone to being caught in the machinery. Compounding the issue was the fact that the theater staff was on strike at the time. As a result, the lift was operated by temporary workers unfamiliar with the equipment. When Minako screamed for the lift to stop, it took several seconds for the operators to respond. By the time the platform stopped, it was too late. Hiromi had already succumbed to her injuries. To make matters worse, the lift had a history of malfunctioning. The performers had repeatedly raised concerns about it, but the theater director dismissed them, insisting that no accidents had occurred, so there was no urgent need for repairs. This combination of factors ultimately led to the catastrophe. After the accident, other performers, staff, and audience members were left shaken. Performances scheduled for the rest of the day were canceled. Shockingly, however, the next performance proceeded as planned the following day. The remains of the victim were quietly returned to her hometown for burial, and the incident was quietly erased from the official history of the Takarazuka Review. For many years, on April 1st, the date of the tragic accident, a flower-laying ceremony was held at the stage site where Hiromi lost her life. However, after the old theater was demolished, it was announced that the ceremony would no longer take place. Only a silent memorial dedicated to Hiromi remains, serving as a poignant reminder of the 21-year-old who lost her life on that stage. Shockingly, 65 years later, another tragedy unfolded in September 2013. A member of the Takarazuka Review took her own life by jumping from her apartment. Her family and lawyer later revealed that she had been driven to suicide due to workplace bullying and overwhelming job stress. Her real name was Nami Nishikigami. Born in Kyoto in 1998, Nami was the eldest daughter of a family that owned a century-old local business, living a life of relative affluence. In 2015, she successfully gained admission to the Takarazuka Review Academy, beating fierce competition with an acceptance rate of only 26.6%. In March 2017, Nami joined the troupe as a member of the 103rd class. Her twin sister, a performer in the 102nd class, shared a close bond with her. To support the dreams of his daughters, their father purchased an upscale apartment just a 15-minute walk from the theater. Neighbors often saw the sisters commuting together. Since joining the troupe, they had performed in 20 different productions. To outsiders, their lives seemed like a dream come true, but beneath the surface, turmoil brewed. After 6 years in the troupe, at just 25 years old, Nami unexpectedly ended her life, leaving behind unfulfilled aspirations and shattered dreams. An investigative team later reported that Nami had likely endured immense psychological pressure from overwork before her death. On November 11th, her grieving family and lawyer held a press conference, shedding light on additional details. Before her death, Nami had been assigned the dual responsibilities of performing in productions and mentoring younger generations. Between mid-August and late September, she had worked continuously without a single day off, sleeping only about 3 hours a night. In the month before her death, she had logged a staggering 437 working hours, averaging approximately 14.5 hours per day. On November 14th, 2023, the Takarazuka Review's executives held their own press conference to present the findings of an independent committee. Nami's family demanded an apology and compensation, accusing the company of overworking her and tolerating workplace harassment, which they claimed were the direct causes of her death. Records revealed that Nami's 437 working hours in August far exceeded government thresholds for occupational death risk. She had confided to her family about suffering burns from a curling iron, sleeping only 3 hours a night, and being blamed by senior members for all the failures of her subordinates. Kinshir Koba, the president of the Takarazuka Review, announced at the press conference that he would resign on December 1st, citing the company's failure to uphold its duty to ensure the performer's safety. Former members of the Cosmos troupe also came forward with accounts of a pervasive culture of harassment targeting junior members. Incidents included verbal abuse, forced apologies, physical punishment, and even food-related coercion. For example, juniors were required to loudly bow and greet seniors whenever they were spotted from afar. On rainy days, if a senior didn't have an umbrella, juniors were expected to either hand over their own umbrella or walk in the rain without one, ensuring they too got wet. The oppressive environment and relentless demands ultimately claimed another victim, casting a shadow over the glamorous facade of Takarazuka Review. In February, Shuken Buntan published a report detailing allegations of long-standing abuse within the Takarazuka Review. Among the accusations, it was revealed that junior members of the Cosmos troupe were allegedly burned on their foreheads with curling irons by senior members. In response, the Takarazuka Review executives denied that any harassment had taken place, dismissing the allegations as mere rumors. What do you think of the actions of the theater's management? Personally, I can't say I'm surprised. When Hiromi's tragic death occurred, the performances didn't stop and the show carried on as if nothing had happened. At the very least, as the theater owner, he should have organized a memorial for her or temporarily paused the productions to address and repair the equipment. Instead, the stage lights were back on the very next day. One can't help but wonder how many more young women will suffer the same fate in the future under this regime of exploitation and disregard for human life. On January 10th, 2020, the internet was shaken by a gruesome video capturing the last breaths of Katrina, a notorious cartel assassin. She had once confidently flaunted her weapons and curves on social media, but misfortune struck when her hideout was attacked by enemies. This is the story of the female drug lords who dared to face evil. On February 18th, 2011 de Tauno, Ciudad Pedro de Alvarado, Guatemala was buzzing with excitement and anticipation for the upcoming local election. In a cozy hotel, Myra, a mayoral candidate, was enjoying lunch with her loyal supporters. However, none of them knew that death was lurking outside. Suddenly, 2 armored trucks pulled up in front of the hotel. A group of masked men stormed in armed with rifles and opened fire on the panicked diners. Blood splattered. Screams of terror echoed through the air, and 8 people lay dead, including Myra. This was not the first time Myra had been targeted for assassination. In June 2006, while she and her family were returning home, gunmen ambushed their car. Myra survived with minor injuries, but her niece paid the price with her life right before her eyes. Who wanted Myra dead and why? The answer was simple. Myra was a notorious drug queenpin, one of the queens of Guatemala's underworld. With cruelty and violence, she ruled her drug empire with an iron fist, deciding who would live and who would die. The townspeople lived in fear of her name, as her ruthlessness knew no bounds. Rumor had it that Myra had killed her own husband and buried his body in a desolate area, but his remains were never found, and she was never suspected in his disappearance. But that wasn't the end of her reign of terror. Myra had the entire city and police force in her grip with ambitions to conquer the entire country. No one dared to challenge her authority, except for one. Myra's only remaining political rival was Roberto Marroquin Fuentes, the leader of a competing criminal gang. He thirsted for control of the drug market, and to achieve that, Myra and her family had to be eliminated. When Myra was killed, Roberto became the prime suspect, but he had a solid alibi, claiming he wasn't at the scene when the massacre occurred. Myra's sister, Myra, refused to believe it. She was determined to avenge her sister's death. Myra was no less formidable than Myra. She inherited her sister's drug empire and harbored a burning hatred. Myra made 3 failed assassination attempts on Roberto, yet each time he miraculously escaped death. Whether it was luck or heavy protection, or both, he managed to survive. Before she could attempt a 4th assassination, Myra was arrested and thrown into prison. Even behind bars, the flames of vengeance still burned within her. She escaped twice, each time leaving Roberto in a state of fear. After her second escape, she was transferred to a high-security military prison. However, rumors persist that Myra is still plotting, waiting for the perfect opportunity to break free once again to finally exact her revenge for her beloved sister. Myra. As the ghosts of the past return, what fate awaits them? The story isn't over yet, and the blood-soaked paths are still waiting for the tireless footsteps of Myra. The invincible assassin La Colita, a famous name in Mexico's underworld, is known as a fearless heat woman, always challenging death at every turn. She didn't serve just one, but 2 ruthless gangs, La Nueva Familia Michoacana and Los Viagras. With her alluring appearance and sharp intelligence, Colita built a fearsome reputation not only for her killing abilities, but also for her recklessness and lack of mercy. Wherever Colita appeared, danger followed. However, her bold social media posts and YouTube videos became the double-edged sword that ultimately sealed her fate. In one file, she was known as Lucy Cruz. In another, Castillo Hernandez. She used social media to flaunt her accomplishments, mock her enemies, and challenge even the most powerful criminals. Colita didn't hesitate to post videos and photos of herself with guns, money, and drugs. She even went so far as to insult El Menco, the leader of the Jalisco New Generation cartel, CJNG, a man notorious for his brutal violence and ties to thousands of murders. He had once been a police officer before becoming one of the most wanted criminals in both Mexico and the U.S., surpassing even Joaquin El Chapo Guzman. Simply put, El Mencho was not someone anyone wanted to provoke. But La Colita didn't care. She truly believed she was untouchable, even feeling invincible. However, it wasn't long before that arrogance led her to a fatal mistake. In November 2020, she posted a video where she criticized CJNG, calling them cowards for abandoning a truck loaded with weapons. In the video, she relentlessly mocked, taunted, and provoked El Mencho. That was the moment when her boldness would cost her everything. Shortly after, La Colita disappeared without a trace, and no one knew what had happened to her. Some rumors claimed she had been kidnapped and tortured by CJNG, while others suspected she had been killed, her body dumped in a mass grave. There were even claims that La Colita was still alive, hiding somewhere, waiting for the right moment to strike back. But one thing was certain: when you dare to challenge El Menco, you don't meet a good end. And with all her arrogance, La Colita may have lost her chance at survival without even realizing it. This brutal game wasn't just about survival. It was an unimaginable war, where boldness and ambition could lead to death in the blink of an eye. Would she return and face her enemies, or would she remain just a memory of a great assassin? La Colita's story isn't over yet, and surprises still lie ahead. In September 2012, a cold bullet ended the life of the cocaine queen Griselda Blanco, the woman who built one of the most brutal drug cartels in history. As the queen of cocaine, she instilled fear not only in Miami, but throughout the global underworld. Griselda Blanco, a Colombian drug lord, had entered the drug trade long before the name Pablo Escobar became widely known. While Escobar reigned in the 1980s, Blanco was the queen of the 1970s with a bloodlust unmatched by anyone. During her violent reign, she created numerous enemies in both Colombia and the US. Blanco didn't hesitate to eliminate anyone in her way, orchestrating drive-by shootings, motorcycle assassinations, and even daring attacks on her rivals' homes. She was believed to be responsible for at least 200 murders, with some sources suggesting the number could be as high as 2,000. A former detective once said that people feared her so much that her reputation preceded her wherever she went. She wasn't born for a peaceful life. At just 11 years old, Blanco was accused of kidnapping a boy for ransom, and when the parents didn't pay, she coldly ended his life. The horrors she inflicted on others were a reflection of the trauma she had endured at home. She fled her abusive family and lived on the streets of Medellin, where she learned to survive by stealing and selling herself. The opportunity to turn crime into a bigger operation came when she met Carlos Trujillo, a human smuggler who illegally brought immigrants into the US. They had 3 sons together, but the marriage quickly fell apart, and Blanco ordered Trujillo's murder, making him the first of 3 husbands to die by her hand. Her second husband, Alberto Bravo, introduced her to the world of cocaine. They moved to Queens, New York, where they built a massive drug empire, pushing the Italian mafia out of the market. Here, Blanco earned the name Godmother. She invented incredibly clever ways to transport cocaine. Young, attractive women hiding cocaine in their underwear while boarding planes. This plan worked for a long time, bringing her a huge fortune, but her newfound fame also brought unforeseen dangers. In 1975, Blanco and Bravo were arrested in a major NYPD and DEA operation named Operation Banshee. Before she could be prosecuted, Blanco managed to escape back to Colombia, where she ruthlessly killed her husband, Bravo, in a shootout over missing millions. Having evaded justice, she continued sending cocaine to the US by any means possible. In 1976, she was accused of smuggling cocaine on a ship called Gloria during a commemorative race at the port of New York. She then decided to move to Miami, where she became the queen of cocaine, building a cocaine trafficking empire and distributing drugs nationwide with her cunning. She lived in luxury, owning lavish homes, expensive cars, and even a private jet. Everything seemed to be within her reach. However, while enjoying her opulent lifestyle, she never forgot that she was playing a deadly game in Miami. Formidable rivals like the Medellin cartel were lurking, and it was only a matter of time before a territorial war broke out, turning South Florida into a battleground. On July 11th, 1979, a group of Blanco's gunmen carried out a daring assassination at Crown Liquor Store, shooting a notorious drug dealer. They chased store employees through the mall, creating a chilling scene straight out of a movie. The assassins arrived in an armored delivery truck named Happy Time Complete Supply Party, with steel plates on the sides featuring shooting holes, turning the vehicle into a tool of crime. Blanco's assassinations instilled such terrifying fear even among fellow drug lords. As one expert put it, while other criminals killed for specific purposes, Blanco did the opposite. She'd kill first and then say, "Oh, he was innocent. Too bad, but now he's dead." Jorge Ayala, her most loyal henchman, stated that whenever Blanco ordered an assassination, everyone around was in danger. No one was spared. Neither women nor children could escape her deadly wrath. Blanco's power peaked in the 1980s with a billion-dollar drug empire, smuggling 1,500 kg of cocaine into the US every month. However, law enforcement agencies were constantly tracking her. Eventually, the DEA caught up with her, and she was sentenced to 20 years in prison. In 1994, Blanco received a major shock when her most trusted lieutenant, Ayala, betrayed her in a murder case. Ayala had enough evidence to put her in the electric chair, but a scandal disrupted the case, discrediting Ayala. As a result, Blanco avoided the death penalty and only served 6 years in prison. After her release, she was deported back to Colombia, where no one welcomed her. With too many enemies, she had nowhere to hide. On September 3rd, 2012, at the age of 69, Blanco was shot twice in the head outside a butcher shop in Medellin. Her death was executed in the same manner she had used to kill so many others. It remains unclear who ordered the hit. Many suspect drug cartels, while others believe it could have been a relative seeking revenge for one of her victims. Either way, with so many enemies, it is difficult to determine who was truly behind the death of the Queen of Cocaine. The story of Griselda Blanco, one of the most controversial figures in drug trafficking history, is not just a tragedy, but a grim reminder of the brutality and dangers of the underworld. On January 11th, 2020, what should have been the happiest day in Karim Lisbeth Yepes Ortiz's life turned into an unimaginable nightmare. As she exchanged vows with her infamous drug lord husband El Calamardo, no one expected their happiness to be shattered by violence. In the middle of their romantic ceremony, a group of armed men stormed the church, bringing death and chaos. The scene turned into utter mayhem as Karim collapsed to the ground in agonizing despair, severely wounded while her husband was dragged away by the attackers amidst the panicked crowd. El Calamardo was not only known as a drug lord, but was also the cause of a brutal war between criminal organizations in Mexico. Karim, the sister of another notorious drug lord, belonged to a family deeply involved in conflicts with the CJNG, Mexico's most powerful and ruthless crime syndicate. This savage assassination shocked the nation, even one so accustomed to violence beyond tolerance. Wedding guests fled in terror, leaving behind dead bodies and chaos. The CJNG killers, dressed in body armor, bearing their infamous logo, showed no mercy. They shot anyone in their way, even killing an innocent boy on a motorcycle outside the church, a barbaric act that sent shivers across the country. The mastermind behind this bloody attack was none other than El Menco, a dangerous enemy embroiled in a brutal war with Karim's brother, Jose Antonio Yepes Ortiz, also known as El Mauro. El Mauro was the leader of the Santa Rosa de Lima cartel, a gang specialized in stealing fuel from pipelines in Guanajuato. The war between these two groups began when a banner appeared in Guanajuato, threatening the president of Mexico that more bloodshed would occur if security forces were not withdrawn from the state. The banner was signed by the Santa Rosa de Lima cartel, but El Mauro quickly denied responsibility, accusing El Menco of setting a trap for him. Clearly, El Menco did not take kindly to having his name mentioned and was determined to wipe out El Mauro's gang, seizing the territory he coveted. This wedding massacre was a powerful message sent to El Mauro, who had left his sister in a horrific situation. After the incident, CJNG continuously released videos mocking El Mauro for his cowardice, which left him feeling humiliated and terrified. Since then, El Mauro has gone into hiding, and no one knows his whereabouts. Those who once knew him doubt he will ever resurface. Not much can be expected from someone who fled to save his life, abandoning his own sister in the midst of such a storm of violence and death. The story of Karim and El Menco has only just begun, but the tension and drama of the fierce war between these underground forces are already palpable, where blood and tears never cease to flow. Jocelyn Alejandra Nino, nicknamed La Flaca, stood in front of the camera with a sweet smile, holding a gun and wearing a bulletproof vest. However, that smile was just a mask hiding the dark world she was about to face. When her photo suddenly went viral on social media, her identity was exposed and a nightmare began. La Flaca, meaning the skinny girl in Spanish, was a name given to her by the Gulf Cartel due to her slender but mysterious figure. This nickname also had connections to Nuestra Señora de la Santa Muerte, the skeletal saint revered in the drug trafficking world. But the name Flaca carried not only gentleness, but also the mark of a curse. Two other female assassins who bore this name had met tragic and striking fear into those who knew it. In the criminal world of Mexico, women like Jocelyn are often recruited by gangs, not only for their alluring appearance, but also for their hidden potential. They often start with menial tasks like guarding or prostitution, but sooner or later, they become ruthless killers. On January 5th, 2015, Jocelyn's fate was sealed. An anonymous user leaked her smiling photo to the citizen-run news site Valor por Tamaulipas, known for reporting on security and crime. The photo quickly became the center of attention on Facebook and Twitter, exposing Jocelyn as an assassin for the Gulf Cartel operating in Valor por Tamaulipas. She appeared innocent, but the gun in her hand said otherwise. The investigation swiftly revealed that the leak originated from Los Metros, a rival gang fighting for control. Their goal was to weaken Los Ciclones, the group Jocelyn belonged to, making her a target for subsequent attacks. Jocelyn, one of the protectors of her group, knew that her mission would become even more dangerous as Los Metros controlled most of the area. On April 12, 2015, Jocelyn and two other members of Los Cyclones were captured by Los Metros. That was the last time anyone saw her alive. The next day, Mexican authorities in Matamoros, Tamaulipas, discovered a horrifying scene. Jocelyn's dismembered body stuffed in a cooler in the parking lot of a soda shop. Her remains were found in plastic bags, but she wasn't alone. The bodies of another woman and a man were also dismembered, showing clear signs of torture, likely used to extract information from the unfortunate victims. The only way authorities could identify Jocelyn was through the Nino tattoo on her forearm. The brutality of Los Metros didn't stop there. They boasted about their gruesome spoils on Twitter, posting images of the dismembered bodies as a threatening message to Jocelyn's group. One of the pictures showed Jocelyn bruised, lying beside two other victims before they were dismembered. Another photo displayed her body parts stuffed into a cooler next to the other corpses. Los Metros sent a chilling warning to Los Ciclones with a brutal message. This is the fate of all the scum who support Los Ciclones. This warning not only insulted her group, but also threatened a bloodbath if they dared to trespass on their territory. But the most intriguing part is that Jocelyn wasn't just any assassin. With her strength and determination, she had become a drug queen, crossing many lines and creating numerous enemies, even within the police force. Now those enemies weren't only seeking to eliminate her, but also to destroy everything she had built. Beneath her sweet smile, the truth behind La Flaca was a never-ending battle, where lives were threatened with every passing moment. On January 10th, 2020, a horrifying video shook the internet. Footage of a woman bleeding heavily and gasping for air. That woman was none other than Maria Guadalupe Lopez Esquivel, known as La Katrina, a notorious assassin of the CJNG cartel. Her tragic fate was captured in one haunting final moment, when Mexican authorities stormed a safe house where she was hiding with other gunmen. A life-or-death shootout ensued. Footage from the raid showed La Katrina gravely wounded, collapsing behind a wall, her face and clothes stained with blood. In a desperate moment, she reached toward the camera, as if pleading for a life slipping away from her grasp. Flashback to October 14th, 2019, when La Katrina led a group of gunmen in a fierce attack on police officers in a town near Aguililla. The officers had no idea they were walking into a deadly trap set by her. The grisly scene after the attack showed many police officers lying motionless while their vehicles were riddled with bullets from heavy weapons. This attack left at least 9 officers injured, while La Katrina and her accomplices quickly fled. They left behind a banner with 2 messages, one claiming responsibility for the massacre and another threatening officers collaborating with rival cartels. But everything took a turn on January 10th. According to local media, someone tipped off authorities about La Katrina's presence in the safe house. Police immediately launched a raid, and during the intense gunfight, La Katrina was shot in the neck. The footage from the raid painted a chilling picture. La Katrina lying on the ground, writhing in pain, fighting for her life. An officer tried to comfort her. "Calm down, girl. The helicopter is coming. It's coming now. Easy, easy. You'll be okay. Hang in there." But that comfort seemed meaningless in the face of death. Meanwhile, other members of CJNG tried to block authorities from retreating, forcing the military to call for helicopter support. Another video showed a soldier carrying La Katrina kneeling on the ground before placing her in the waiting helicopter. But it was too late. She passed away just minutes after the helicopter took off. So how did a young assassin like La Katrina end up in such a tragic situation? The name La Katrina comes from the skeletal figure symbolizing Mexico's Day of the Dead, and she was a high-ranking member of the CJNG cartel. In 2017, she left her hometown of Topolcatepec and met Miguel LM2 Fernandez, one of the cartel's leaders. She fell in love with him, joined the gang, and quickly rose through the ranks under his guidance, living a luxurious life in the criminal world. However, as is often the case in the dangerous underworld of cartel gangs, That glamorous life didn't last long. Katrina was only 21 years old when she met her painful death. A tragic end to a life woven with dreams and ambition, but cut short by inevitable violence. Her life wasn't just a personal tragedy, but a grim reflection of Mexico's drug war, where dreams are buried beneath rivers of blood. And that's today's story. What are your thoughts? Let us know in the comments below this video. Don't forget to support us by liking the video and subscribing to our channel. See you in the next one.